This week's channel message from the angels may be one of the more intense messages that I have channeled. And so, just a quick warning to you guys up front, they do talk about some of the earth changes in this message. They also talk about sort of the different experiences that will happen for people who move into the shift, versus those who don't. If those topics are triggering for you, I just want to tell you up front so you know, like this is a very intense message. So, all right. So, welcome to my channel, you guys. Welcome back. And thank you so much for holding the space for these messages and holding them with me. You guys know that I think the messages are so important. And I'm so grateful that we have this community of seekers and spiritual learners, right? And that you guys are willing to go on this journey with me. So, yeah, so welcome back, you guys. For those of you who are new, my name is Ann Tucker. I'm a trance channel. I channel from the angelic realm, and I do that by going into a deep meditative state. And from that deep trance state, I raise my awareness up as high as I can go, and I go a little higher, and I connect at the angelic realm, and then messages and information and healing come through, and I share it here with you guys on YouTube. And this time I did my process a little differently this time. Because I'd been meditating for like an hour, and then I went directly from meditating into the message. So I was really deep this time. So because I was so deep, there's a little bit of confusion sometimes around the pronouns, because when I'm in really, really deep, they get really fluid about like the he, she, they, itself, yourself. That can be a little confusing in this. So I'll explain it after we hear the message, but just to tell you up front, it's just because I was a little extra deep this time. And like I said, angels are like a unity consciousness, so they're not super. The pronouns can get a little loosey goosey, but I think it's still a very clear and beautiful message. So what the message is about, it's an amazing message talking about that. Yes, we are going through a process of like chaotic times in the world, and we're moving away from, in this process, we're moving away from a separation where we see ourselves as separate from one another, where we have been learning about ourselves in separation. It's almost like having a full experience of just yourself has allowed you to really define who you are. Now we're going to be going through a complete shift where we're moving from that state of separation into a state of unity consciousness. And they talk a little bit about like what that's going to be like and how amazing it's going to be, and how it will change us. And then they say, okay, but not everybody's going to come in the party. Not everyone's coming along. And there will be some people who will be in resistance to the changes. And they talk a lot about what that experience is going to be like. And they're very clear to say that if someone is in resistance, that doesn't have to be a forever thing, that the space is made for them to turn around and to come along on this amazing, beautiful ride we're going on. And as a matter of fact, the reason why you guys are here is to turn around and help them, that you're meant to go to the other side and then to turn around and help anybody else who wants to come. And that's by design, that the angels are going to help us, sort of the way showers, the people who go first. The angels are going to help us, and then we turn around, and it's like the human chain. We turn around and we pull anybody else that wants to come. So it's available to absolutely everybody who wants to come. But that for those who are in resistance, it's because they're going to be clinging to the way things have been. And the amazing thing about this message is they are saying that as things are destroyed, it frees up energy. And then it's like the phoenix rising from the ashes. From that destruction, from the chaos, emerges a new reality. And they say that the two happen in the same moment. It's literally instantaneous. And they say that as we move through this, we do not need to be suffering the chaos. That if we turn around and we're looking at what was, we are suffering in the chaos. If we turn forward and we look at what is emerging out of the chaos, we will be living in a new reality. We will be living in this new state of positivity and celebration and joy. So this will be available to us and is available to us. And they said increasingly, even now, they saying it's more pressing, it's coming in even now. So the message has a lot in it. They do give some details, like I said, about and I will put a timestamp right here, boom, timestamp of when they start talking about some of the earth stuff. And if that freaks you out, you can just skip right over that part, okay? Because they go in, but the reason they tell us is to help us so that when these things happen, or if these things happen, when and if they happen, that we are not caught flat-footed. It's so that we're not shocked, that we're not put into a state of fear, that we don't feel like a sense of betrayal, that it's like, no, okay, we understood this was coming and we know how to get through it, and we're going to be okay, and we do not have to suffer. So, okay, like I said, a lot in this message, you guys, and thank you so much for sharing it together as a community and sharing the meaning of it, because I do think it's important. So, a quick reminder for those of you who are in peace bathing, do not forget we have peace bathing this Sunday at 10 a.m. So I'm looking forward to seeing you there. And those of you who would love to join me for Soul Convergence, we start coming up September 28th is the day we start. So you still have another week before we begin. So you're welcome. I would love. Is it 2 weeks or 1 week? Anyways, September 28th we start. So if you were feeling the call to come in to work through the trauma, the patterns, the wounding that we have that's preventing us from being that lovely, coherent soul, please come and join me and experience what Soul Convergence is all about. It is an amazing process. All right, you guys, enjoy the message.
Beginning in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome and blessings. We bring to you now a new thought. On the horizon, there sings a new song. A new day is rising, and you are in between the moments of now, in surrender to what is. You are feeling the times that arrive as longer and more pressing, as presence bestows its unveiling upon you. The force of these times is drawing you into a conclusive vantage point from within which your understanding of your soul and self will crystallize. For tomorrow shall bring a new day, and the times of separation shall come into fulfillment of what itself can be made of. The times of separation have been drawn through you for the purpose of illustrating who you are and who you are as humanity, as one soul and one self, who is drawn apart into the many vantage points of its own expression. And as yourself and itself shall crystallize in the morrow, the new beginnings shall unfurl a new way of seeing who you are. The new sense of yourselves shall arrive all at once, as if it settles upon you like a fog of understanding, a new sense of perspective, a new way of endowing the timings and the consecrations between one another and between your own selves with less doubt, more certainty in your own comprehending. There will become within your own hearts an invisible field of intolerance for what is not truth, an invisible field of rejection of what is not brought into form as it is endowed with presence. There will become over time an increasing friction within your own field against that which is not empowering its own light. It will be as if you are drawn into relationship in greater and greater dynamics with they and that which is standing in wholeness and in truth. In these perspectives, you shall share amongst and between yourselves. It shall be as if one chorus rises from amongst yourselves and you belong to it. And you cannot but sing along and find the friendship within the sounds that emanate from between you. And in these times, you will surrender most gladly to the experience of oneness. And there will be, yes, those souls who experience not this same great rousing from inside, this same great feeling of unity and belonging. And they shall wish to come. they shall wish to feel as you do, and it shall be available should they choose it most deeply. But the invigorated times that are coming will not tolerate disintegration from the core of who you are. They will not tolerate the same fabrication of a world as it has been. There must come in the coming times the union from within in order for your soul to feel alive. There will be a doubting time for those who are off center, a time of feeling themselves cast into a slumbering daze, as if that which has been foreshadowed some greater lack than they were understanding, as if there was less meaning in what they held previously than they had realized. And they will come to terms with this and find themselves seeking. And they will look for that which is revealed in their own slumbering times, in their higher mind. They will become open to perceptions not before available to themselves. They will become seekers. They will find within themselves the desire to meet your heart, but not know how to reveal it. They will find themselves in the desire to become enlightened, and they will seek the help of all who have risen. They will find in their own hearts the tides have torn them from their own complacency. And while the surface of a reality is disfigured, it releases from itself a great calamitous vibration that celebrates its own freedom. And from within this great stew of potential emerges what can be and become from within them. This great rising comes and speaks to them most earnestly, most fully, as to you. But they shall hear it from within the space and placement of their own confusion, and need only the guidance, the help, the consideration of they who have accomplished this feat already, within the framework of your own sharing, of the gifting which you will have held and understood within your own soul. You may provide the tunnel, the bridge, the conveyance, as we do you. You may find within the souls who are left behind by their own choosing, you may find the method from within the breath of relief that you shall take upon your own arrival. You shall find yourselves within a space and a dance of celebration, a sensation of who you are as rising always into the context of new meaning, as if you have seldom understood yourself and now are within a realm of discovery, and all shall be met with wonderment and glee. And this, yes, celebration it causes in your heart, and within your heart space, celebration rises joyfully, joyfully. You shall be presented to they who shall wish to meet you. They who have chosen to find solace in their own self-selected misery shall not stay long upon an earth that will not meet them easily. They shall not find it hospitable, shall not feel it as loving, though it shall be. They shall not feel themselves conveyed in peace, their utterances not meeting the same vibrations, the same acceptance as once was felt. They shall become within their own skin an outsider from who you have become. This shall not and does not need to remain their fate. It is a temporary position within which they shall find themselves, and they shall come to terms with it upon their own guidance, their own internal surrender to what is, within the acceptance of what has come to pass. They shall find relief. It is only in the rejection and resistance to what has occurred that they find resistance to their own freedom. Within the context of these earthly movings, there shall be an enormous degree of condensation and upheaval. There shall become upon this earth great torrents of mud, and the fixtures of the globe shall not appear as they were or have been. It shall feel as if all is tumultuous and can be overcome by the greatest tides that separated you from yourselves, as if the earth herself has undergone the same conundrums and resolutions as you are feeling within your own hearts. She shall settle herself in her own way. She shall come to terms with all that she has been and will become. She shall evolve as you will have done. But in the timings, the separation becomes palpable and palpably felt within those who remain on the plane of this existence and within her own crust. There shall be the vibrations that tone her separation, that you shall feel as an exhaustion, a palpably felt expulsion from within her. To know yourself fully, please understand and have the understanding that all that shall become chaos within emerges from within your own heart as a digestion of truth. That as you release the torrents of your own frustration, the immolation of what has been resistance within creates within an artificial layer of protection that is then discarded, and renewal occurs from within. It is as though the substance of what was must be brought forth and decay, and all that was begins anew, a phoenix to rise from within you, and the earth herself, much like you are, shall find in all things the potential for freedom to rise again. All that is destructive shall be met with new potentials. All in the same moment, in the same instant of release, comes the new. Where shall you focus? Upon your fear or upon the gifting of the new reality? Shall you bring your thoughts into alignment with what shall be revealed, or shall you dwell within the fears of a long bygone day that you can no longer feel? The yesteryears of our old fixation can no longer calm you as they once did. And you shall find from within them an emptying and an emptiness. And all that does become discarded is digested back into a new form. Thus, cast your focus and attention upon the new reality forming from within you. Let yourself rise to be met by one another. Find the consequential times need not be suffering. They can become the fragrance of a new day, as consequential, as powerful, as impactful as the chaos that creates them. Thus, we welcome with you, as guardians of the new earth, we welcome you into the fabric of the reality of your own creation. All right. What did I tell you? That's an intense one. I feel like this message has so much intensity. Oh, and we are at 111 right now, you guys. That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like this message, and maybe it's just me when I read it, I just feel the energy. I feel this, it builds and it builds, and it's intense. Every word, every phrase feels really intense. Yeah, Samantha says, wow, yeah, for sure. And Debbie says, let yourself rise to be met with one another. Yes, let's do this. Absolutely. Like, it's inspiring, right? I feel like this is like the ultimate pep talk, this message. And it's not, they're not soft pedaling it at all. I mean, it's heavy hitting, right? They're coming right in and they're saying, like, this is what it is. But they have intense faith in us, and they know that, like, an intense respect for us. And they know we can do this. They're like, like they see us already there. So they know what's going to happen. So they have infinite trust in us, but we have to have trust in ourselves. And so they're trying to share that trust, right? Yeah, yeah. And Aaron just caught the last bit, and it hits so hard. It really does. I know the whole message is like that. It's super, super intense. And I think it's the key here, I think, is to really remember that yeah, there's going to be a lot of craziness in the world, and they've been telling us about the craziness, but they've also been telling us that we will have what we need, that we will be fine. And it's always been like, how? Like, how are we going to be fine with all this craziness happening? And here they're telling us how. And they're saying that out of every bit, they said the potency of the chaos, which they say will be a lot. There will be a lot of chaos, but they say the greater the chaos, the greater the rebirth. And it's at the same moment, and we are meant to turn and focus on what is new and focus on what is coming out of it. Yeah, and Ronnie says time is short. I really believe, like, I know this is happening. I know in my heart that this is happening in our lifetimes. Like, and I believe it's happening soon. And the angels just say soon. We know it is the angelic soon because they don't have time. They don't understand. They can't, like, it's like they can't feel or see time. But they've given us some sort of like orders of things. They've given us this happens before that. Like, that is something that translates, even if you don't have time. They can see this then affects that, which gives us order. And I believe that there's a first chunk of things that happens. And I think in the first chunk of things is like economic stuff, like the banking stuff they've been talking about, the political stuff, like the separation of the United States and the sort of the chaos. And I believe the election sure seems primed for it, right? And then the third is the increasing war, which I think is what we have to work through in the coming year. And then mixed in that, they have said that the earth, there could be earth changes, and that is what they're referring to here. They're referring to earth changes. So I think this package, like, I think the political and the economic and the earth stuff could be kind of all in the same. And when I say in the same, it could be like within the same year. I don't really know, but it's like it's kind of in the same capsule of time. And however big a capsule is, I don't know, but I think it's that. But that's my understanding of it. That these things, they say it will happen in the midst of everything else. The Earth rift happens, or maybe they said the flash of light happens. I think the flash of light is like kind of like at peak. The flash of light is what we're working towards. It's the big moment. It's the crescendo of this stuff. So, and my personal bet is like second half of, middle to second half of 2026 for the flash of light, but that's just my guess. I've heard many other very creditable guesses, and I think like Pam Gregory, who I totally respect, she says it could be within the year. I've heard other people who say 2030. I think 2030, the energy that you see us astrologically in 2030, my guess is that may be when we have achieved world peace, and we all of a sudden have like, off planet beings landing, on the lawn. I say, hey, we're here. This is real. So that could be. And then that then moves us into brand new technologies and all kinds of stuff that they're going to help us with. So gosh, you guys, I know the messages. So let's just read through it and see what they say. And Dawn also feels it's coming soon. Yeah. And Samantha says, I see the concepts of our world crumbling and arise. New vibrating of seeing and experiencing reality. Yes, absolutely. And Marjorie says the earth is self-cleansing as we are. Yes, 100%, Marjorie. Totally agree. And Maggie says I feel it soon as well. The energy just feels different. Yeah. And Ronnie believes it's going to happen this year. I think this second half, this fall, some of this stuff I think is going to happen this fall for sure. There's tons of energy this fall, and I know we're like in it. We're in the fall, so like this period. I mean, like before the end of the year when I say fall. I think winter. Anyways, like between now and December, leading into January. I think some of the economic stuff and I don't know. Anyways, but I think the goal is not for not just not focus on it. The goal is to be aware that it could happen, and then to set it aside, so then when it does happen, we're not scared and we're not put into fear. We go into our hearts, we feel love, and we look for what is the phoenix rising from the ashes, and we focus on that, right? And that's where we go. And that's the goal. And they've said, like, if you ever get fearful, just bring your awareness back to your four walls, close the blinds, turn off the news, stop listening, right? And just focus on your heart, focus on love, and recognize that wherever you are, like wherever you are right now, you are absolutely safe, because I know you are, because you're sitting watching this, right? Like we are together right now and you are doing this, which means you have power. It means that you have, like, you're all right, right? Wherever you are right now, you're all right. And you have always been all right, or you wouldn't be here. And you may have gone through really tough stuff in your life, but you were always protected because you got here, because you're here now. So something, someone, your higher power, your guardian angels, they saw you through. And even so, you might have had to experience some hard things, they saw you through. And we will get through this, whatever's coming, but we will get through it more easily. We will get through it. They said that we don't have to suffer, that we will get through it easily if we focus on what's emerging and let go of resistance. That is our way of freedom. Yeah. So, and I know it's hard to think about sometimes because we worry, but it's the biggest thing we can do for ourselves. And Debbie says, oh my gosh, world peace and welcoming aliens. Yes, please. I know, right? When I think about that, I get so excited. Yeah, for real. And then Don says, agree, we can feel the intensity of the world shift. Yep, super, super cool. The chaos is pieces of the chaos. I personally think it would be this year, but I could be wrong. This is me guessing. This is not channeled from the angels, but I look at the astrology of things. I'm looking, kind of reading the world, and looking also at the intensity. The angels have said we are in it. This is go time. They kind of have said that this is go time. So I do think and they've said in one of our past messages about the banking, they were like, make sure you guys have a little cash on hand. And I would just repeat that right now. It doesn't have to be a lot. It is like let's just imagine a scenario where the banks shut down. And the angels said the banks would shut down because the institutions would be trying to protect the institutions. They would be trying to protect the system and themselves. And so, but they would shut it down, which means all of a sudden you can't get your money out of the bank. And so but what that would mean is they can't, and they said payment processing would stop. So chances are, if the banks are closed, you're not going to be expected to pay rent or pay a mortgage or pay bills, because you can't. How can you? The whole system will be frozen. So you don't have to worry about that. But what you do have to worry about is, do you have basic things that you need, right? Do you have food on hand? Do you have gas in your car? Do you have the basics, right? So having some food in your house, very, very, I keep saying rice and beans, big bag of rice, big, like the commercial size, because it could be weeks. It could be weeks. We don't know how long it would be that this would close. But what if you can't get any money out? What if all of your stuff is done digitally and you have zero cash? That is what I would not want to see for you. I would want to see a situation where you have some cash. And so even if you are like everything is payment cards and you never even carry a wallet, and if you're doing everything with your phone and paying with your phone, please, for this, I would just say that the angels have told us that this is a really, really, really good idea to have some cash on hand. Because what if you can't do payment processing? What if you can't and you need to get some stuff? So I will stop talking about that, but just know I feel strongly about that, that they have them because of the messages they've given us. I feel strongly about that it would be in all of our best interests. And it does not have to be a lot. Like I said, it doesn't have to be rent and bills, and it just has to be some groceries, some gas, basics. So, all right. So shall we go into the message and talk it through, you guys? And it says there's growing tension in the public of humans. I can feel the tension in the energy. Yeah, for sure. And Janine says, yes, I believe we can step into it now, but all of humanity will be there in the coming 2 decades. The world will be unrecognizable. Enjoy. I 100% agree. It's incredible to think about, right? Karen says, I agree with 2030 being start of world peace. Yeah. Yeah. The fact that we get to see that in our lives. And I will tell you guys, it fits because I think over the following years, they are going to be helping us. The angels have told us in a past message that they will be helping us to move off planet to become citizens of the galaxy. And I have had an experience, a vision, like a future regression, I guess you call it, whatever you call that, where I saw myself on a spaceship. So I actually saw, and I felt it. I was old, and I felt myself on a spaceship, but I was old. So it wasn't like tomorrow. It was like I was old. older than I am now to say. So yeah, so in my lifetime, I will be up there somewhere in a spaceship, which is kind of cool. So which means that's available to us, like amazing. And that only happens after world peace. So super, super cool, right? Yeah. So okay, so let's go through and see and break it apart and talk about the message, because there's a lot here and a lot of intensity. So they start out, they say, and by the way, I was super, super deep when I channeled this, and when I go really deep like that, it's almost like the prepositions get confusing, because the angels are like all about oneness and unity consciousness, and so the theys and the itselves and the myselves and the yourselves get really fluid when I'm super, super deep. So I'll try to correct that as we go so that you can follow along, because there's some places it gets confusing, because they're like yourself and itself and myself, and it's like, who are you talking about? But it's just because I was very deep, and it gets very fluid when I do that. So they say, welcome and blessings. We bring to you now a new thought. On the horizon, there sings a new song. A new day is rising, and you are in between the moments of now in surrender to what is. I love that. And they've talked about this before, this concept of being in surrender to what is. That this is that experience of living in the now. Like, this is how we reach our higher states of consciousness, right? How we reach, it's about pulling our power and our energy away from the worry we have for the future and the self-flagellation we have in the past, right? All of the things we're going around in the past. Why did I do that? And why did that happen? And all that kind of stuff. We pull all our energy back from the past and from the future, and we're living in the now, right? And that is how we become, that's one of the ways we become more coherent, have more energy. And so this is it, living with what is, right? Living in the present. And it's all about singing a new song, right? And they describe our soul as a song. Our soul is made up of all the notes of everything we've ever been, thought, done. That's our song. You are feeling the times that arrive as longer and more pressing, as presence bestows its unveiling upon you. So in other words, the times that arrive are becoming longer, like we're having longer moments where we're able to hold that higher vibration of the new reality that we're moving into. So he's feeling the times that arrive as longer, which is really cool. And more pressing, as presence bestows its unveiling upon you. So it's more like it's more interruptive, like it's coming into our lives. And we were just talking about this last Friday, you guys, about how we're seeing angel numbers all over the place and how we're having instant manifestations and like really cool stuff. Like I had such a cool instant manifestation just this weekend where I had been talking about how I wanted to learn how to make I'm all about right now trying to figure out how to make the stuff that I'm getting from the garden last longer, because you know how gardens are, like zucchinis will come into season, and then it's like you have zucchinis up to your armpits and then none. You know what I mean? They all come at once and you can't extend it. So I've been trying to figure out how to extend it, and I have this idea of doing like drying them or freeze drying them and making like soups that I can just and have it all in a jar, because it has to be easy or I won't do it. So I have this idea, I'm going to stick it in a jar, have all the ingredients ready, and then it's 5:00. I'm like, what do you want for dinner? I grab a jar, I dump it in a pot, and boom, there's dinner. Because if it's that easy, I'll do it. It has to be that. It's just me being a little lazy. I guess I gotta make it easy for myself, or I won't use it. So anyways, but I've been trying to find recipes that are plant-based. I've been having a hard time, and I was looking, and I was out with some friends. I walked into a store, and then boom, they had it was like a home furnishing store, and they had a huge section all of exactly what I was looking for right there. So I could take them, I could try them out, try the recipe, see if I liked it. Like it just was given to me, like, oh, you're looking for this? Here you go. Here they all are. You can try them before you bothered, you know what I mean? To make sure you like the recipe. It was like such a beautiful, instant manifestation. I just loved it. But that is this proof, right? These experiences we're having where it's just like you just walk into the exact thing you were needing. It just lands on your doorstep. Oh, thank you. That's what I was thinking about. It's just given to us. And this is that's pressing into our reality. It's more and more and more. We're getting this, which I love, right? When it happens, I'm like, oh my gosh, it is so exciting. So, so then they say the force of these times is drawing you into a conclusive vantage point from within which your understanding of your soul and yourself will crystallize. So conclusive, to conclude something. It's like, now I get it. I come to a conclusion. And to come to a conclusion is a double meaning. We love those angels. They always have their double meanings. To conclude is to end, right? It's concluded. And then it's also to come to understanding, I come to my decision, or I extract the meaning from it, right? So a conclusive vantage point. So this is where we finally pull back far enough and we're able to say, that's who I am. This is who I have been in separation. This is who I have become through all of the experiences I've had up until now. And they say it will, our understanding will crystallize, right? So, so cool. And then they go on to say, and then I want to answer this one. Thank you, Rodney, for answering. She says, silly question, but what are light workers and how do we know if we are a light worker? Yeah, and so Rodney's absolutely right, Sue, that you are here. And so therefore you are. Like basically, there are some people who came to the planet as volunteers. And the most of you are the ones who are pulled to spirit, that you have been like you. It's almost like you can't stay away from it. Like it's like at some point something kicked you in the rear. I didn't say Fanny. They kicked you in the rear. Those of you who know what I've been doing lately, that's like yeah. Anyways, I'm just gonna let that one sit. Let that one set aside. So it woke you up, right? It woke you up and it put you on a path to spirit. And then you just like you get so excited and so full of it, and all you want to do is read books and go to workshops and learn, right? And that is the wake up call that we have in spirit. So that is like, and that's typical for your average light worker. It's just like you're just drawn to it. But then there are those souls who came maybe for a karmic experience and then had all of a sudden had they grew faster than they expected, and they came to spirit and they discovered, wow, I want to be part of this too. So the point is anybody can become a light worker. Is my concept of what a light worker is someone who is here to help. And all you have to do to be someone who helps is someone who has worked on themselves. You just have to be slightly ahead in your own journey than someone else to turn around and give them a hand. And that makes you a light worker, that you are working with the light to help others. So yeah, and the fact that you are here shows you have the curiosity to learn. And when you learn, you can help others. So 100%. It's an all-inclusive definition. Yeah, and which I love. It's open to all of us, and it's meant to be. Like, we need to help other people. It is going to be increasingly important. There cannot be enough of us because our numbers are limited right now, and there's a lot of people in the world that are going to be seeking help. Yeah, tons and tons. So, all right. And this is interesting. You're saying my bank had a glitch yesterday, and Yvonne says mine did too. So my bank had a glitch the other day too, where it was a really weird thing where I've had 2 glitches just recently. That is very interesting, you guys. If anybody else is having that, I'm curious to know. But I've had 2 things where it was like it was closed, you couldn't do certain things, and then I've had things that didn't show up. I tried to move some money and it didn't work. Some weird things are happening in the bank. That is interesting. All right. So then let's go on. They go on to say, for tomorrow shall bring a new day, and the times of separation shall come into fulfillment of what it can be. The times of separation shall come into fulfillment of what it can be made of. So this is where I'm getting into the prepositions that get a little bit confusing. So the times of separation will come into fulfillment. So basically, we have been in a time of separation, and this crystallization is about that has been helpful. The process of separation, the angels have said that has been very meaningful for helping us to better understand who we are. It's about the identity. Who are you? What is your unique spark of the divine? And we want to cultivate this and grow this to the point where we really are like, we're like, okay, I get, this is who I am. Like, this is what made me who I am. And this is how I feel, and this is my essence. This is really who I am. Then we can take that into unity consciousness, and we don't lose ourselves in unity consciousness. We maintain our identity, but we are within unity. So that's the kind of the point, is we have to go through separation first and then into unity. And so saying tomorrow shall bring a new day, and the times of separation shall come into fulfillment. So this is like where we get the most out of what we've been trying to learn about ourselves. The time of separation, the times that the separation have been drawn, that separation have been drawn through you for the purpose of illustrating who you are and who you are as humanity. So this is about learning about ourselves and about humanity as one soul and one self who was drawn apart into the many vantage points of its own expression. So humanity being one soul, and we each are like a window of that soul, and then our one soul drawn apart into many expressions, many different lives, which we've lived to see ourselves. So it's both and the whole, where humanity is lived through the eyes of each of us, and at the soul level, where our soul is broken apart into many different lives, and we're able to live all these different experiences and see ourselves inside of each one. And as yourself and itself, meaning humanity, as ourself and humanity, shall crystallize into the morrow, the new beginnings shall unfurl a new way of seeing who you are. So the new way of seeing who you are is unity consciousness. So we are moving from separation into unity consciousness, and we will see ourselves from this new lens. And that's what we're moving into. Yeah. All right. And then Dawn says lots of glitching in technology lately. Solar flare is probably influential in that. Oh, you're probably right. Yeah, because it has been crazy solar flares. Yeah. And then, okay, so let's go on. They say, the new sense of yourself shall arrive all at once, as if it settles upon you like a fog of understanding. I love that, because it's like we think of a fog of confusion. This is a fog of understanding, and it's so fitting. They says it settles upon you all at once, and so it's a fog of understanding. And my belief, that what I'm understanding from this is they've said when we move through the cocoon and go through this experience of our sort of rebirth into this new state of awareness, that the new reality doesn't exist yet. And they said it will be foggy at first because it's literally coming from inside of us and we are creating it amongst ourselves. So it will be foggy at first, but it is a fog of understanding, right? It's coming from within us, within our understanding of ourself. And then it emerges from that. So a fog of understanding. What a cool phrase. A new sense of perspective, right? Unity versus separation. A new way of endowing the timing and the consecrations between one another and between your own selves with less doubt, more certainty in your own comprehending. So in other words, in our interactions between ourselves, as we get into this new state, this new way of being, this new perspective, which is unity, then our interactions will have less uncertainty, less doubt. In other words, I will have no doubt, because they've said before, when we go through this, we will have access to a new sixth sense, which is going to give us way more comprehending than any of our five senses put together, all of them put together. It will give us this huge insight. When we connect to one another, when we talk with one another, we will have this deep emotional empathy where I will be able to feel what you're feeling as if it was me, right? And so you will be able to feel what I'm feeling as if I was you. So we will have this deep understanding. Like if I say something that was to hurt your feelings, I would know it immediately, because I would feel, I would feel your energy fall, and I would know, oh my gosh, I didn't, and then I would be able to say, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings, right? Everything becomes visible and palpable. So we would have this certainty of comprehending. Whereas right now, when two people get together, two people can be talking right past each other, right through their own wounding, you know what I mean? And not even realize how the other person mistook what they said, because we can't feel what they're feeling. In the new state of consciousness, which will crystallize and come over us like a fog of understanding, right? We will have this unity, this deep telepathy, emotional telepathy, where we will have less doubt and more certainty in our own ability to comprehend each other, right? So cool. All right, next paragraph. They say, oh, I love this paragraph. They say, there will become within your own hearts an invisible field of intolerance for what is not truth. This, I feel like this just lights up a whole new understanding. What this section makes me think about is the angels have shown us before, like that the earth will be in this phase of mitosis, where it's like we have two realities that are in the same place, physical place, if there is such a thing as a physical place, but separate realities in a way. And I haven't understood, how is that possible? How does that happen? This is how it happens. They say there will become within your own hearts an invisible field of intolerance for what is not truth. And then they say an invisible field of rejection for what is not brought into form as it is endowed with presence. So it's almost like, imagine that if we become so sensitive to in truth, they mean like, who is in wholeness, who is in self-love. That's the frequency of acceptance of all that I am. Like when I am living in not truth, it is me rejecting parts of who I am. And parts of who I am might include experiences that I would like to forget, right? They might include moments where maybe I behaved in a way I want to forget, or maybe I experienced something I really don't want to relive, I would rather have that not be part of my body. I want that out of myself. But the fact is, I can't. It's part of who I am. And you guys know that is the work we've been doing in Soul Convergence, is taking all these pieces and bringing them back in and making our hearts coherent. And that's the goal. We want to be as coherent as we can be, incorporate as much of ourselves as we can. That is what self-love is. When we hear the term self-love, It is about loving all these different aspects, including the pieces that we want to shove down. And we in our culture, we have a natural fear of our emotions. People are afraid that their emotions will take over and they will never come back, that they'll lose themselves and their fears and their emotions, that it will derail them. Right? And so we fear our emotions, and we have to learn to take these pieces of ourselves and bring them back in, and to allow those emotions. We're not meant to hold those emotions in our field. They're meant to move through us, to release and let go. They're meant to be felt and gone. And so here they're saying, and this is, you guys know, those of you who have been in soul convergence with me, and those of you who are starting, by the way, welcome. Those of you who are joining me on the 28th, I cannot wait to get started with you guys. So we have a whole new group starting soul convergence. So those of you who have done it, send them some extra love, because you guys know what it's all about. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Going to be awesome. So, and it's not too late if you want to join. If you haven't yet, that you can still join up until the 28th. You can join to come and do it with us if you want to. And soul convergence, I should say, it's a deep healing program that we do together. It's an 11 weeks, and then there's a lot of, I'll give information. I'll put a link in for you guys who need to know about it. I'll put a link so you can read about it on the website. It has all the information there. All right. So the new it arrives as a fog of understanding, a new sense of perspective, a new way of endowing the timing and the consecrations between one another and between your own selves with less doubt, more certainty in your own comprehending. Next paragraph. There will become within your own hearts an invisible field of intolerance for what is not truth, an invisible field of rejection for what is not brought into form as it is endowed with presence. There will become, over time, an increasing friction within your own field against that which is not empowering its own light. It will be as if you are drawn into relationship in greater and greater dynamics with they and that which are standing in wholeness and in truth. So this is that idea of how is it that we start to kind of find each other, find one another who have been open to these changes, who are willing to step toward what is new and what is emerging in this process. It will be because as we move into it, as we go through the cocooning process, you guys know we release our karma, that they described how that's going to happen, that we will feel a heaviness in our body. We're meant to lay down, and that heaviness is literally we are being separated from our karma. And so there, from that process, we will have this experience of more coherence in our field. It is like allowing ourselves to recognize our divinity. And that is our truth, right? It is self-love. We will love ourselves coming through it. And so our field it'll be as if being around someone who does not love themselves will be like being around someone who like maybe just ate a lot of like something stinky. You know what I mean? Like it's like, ooh, they just had like a lot of Limburger cheese or whatever it is. And you're like, okay, I love you, but can you just step a little bit further away? Because that's super smelly. Like, it's going to be like that, like a field of intolerance where we will feel it and it'll be like, whoa, you haven't done your work. You know, and it'll be in our vibration, and we will be gravitating towards people who have done their work, who have made the shift, who are going through, and we will feel it in our hearts. So it'll be an invisible field of intolerance. And so we will be, it's like a sensitivity. Like it's literally like you will know it. It'll be like, ooh, that doesn't feel good, you know? And I think it makes sense. Like when someone doesn't love themselves, you will feel that. And because we'll be feeling their feelings as if it is us, it'll be like, whoa, that feeling feels bad in my body. Right? I don't like that feeling of not loving myself. I want to be in the space where I feel love for myself. Yeah, so super interesting. So you could see how this would create a slight separation as we would be moving towards those that we want to spend time with. And I know this is going to bring up questions for people about what about my family and loved ones. And that's what they address later through this process. They say that it is not meant to be a state of permanence. When somebody is in that, when they are kind of in the state of like they haven't moved through, and the people who have not accepted it, that it doesn't have to be the state that they are in. They are going to feel drawn to, and you will be able to help them. They will be more receptive than they are now. And that is what the angels are saying. They will be way more receptive, and you will have the opportunity. And that may be the exact reason why you were born into the family that you were born into. You know, why is it that you, a light worker, are born into a family that is like, you're crazy and all this stuff is just garbage? Like, why? You know, why is it that you feel there's no one around you who feels the way that you do? Well, because you will be the way shower. And they've been talking about that a lot, about how we are meant to be way showers. And here they're saying all you got to do is go through it yourself, and you will in that first breath of acceptance, you will know how to turn around and help someone else. So it's very exciting, you guys, very, very exciting. But in the same time, you are going to be drawn to be with other people who have already gone through the shift. You will find them, right? It's like your heart will be open to them. And then, okay, they go on to say, yeah, you are drawn into relationship and greater dynamics with they and that which is standing in wholeness and in truth. What I read from that, which is so exciting, in greater and greater dynamics, I see that as one-on-one first, is one dynamic, but greater and greater dynamics is in the many. So I think down the road, it may not be in my lifetime, and maybe it is in my lifetime, where we are drawn into communities, where it's like, I want to be living with other people who feel this way, who are on this path. It's like, yeah, it could be, this could be, it's like, I know that sounds really out there that we would all pick up and go move and like live in some like happy love commune, but maybe we will, and they've talked about it a little bit in some of their sort of very, very futuristic messages, but it's exciting, you guys. It's really exciting. Like, it just feels so real these days. They go on to say, in these perspectives, you shall share amongst and between yourselves. It shall be as if one chorus rises from amongst yourselves and you belong to it. And you cannot but sing along and find the friendship within the sounds that emanate from between you. And in these times, you will surrender most gladly to the experience of oneness. So this is what it's going to feel like to be together. When we've gone through this experience and we've shifted away from separation into unity, this is what it's going to feel literally like. Being together is going to be like literally like one big musical. We're going to be singing and having an amazing time, right? Yeah. And then Melissa says, I feel like I already live that way. Phenomenal. And that's great. You know what I mean? Like, we want to embrace it now if we can. Debbie says, unconditional love and acceptance for myself is on a continuum. I'm getting there, but it's a little tough oh, wait, see, I just lost that. Tough to feel. And I totally honor that you are sharing that, because I think so many people relate to that it is a continuum. And they said in the very beginning of this message, they've said that you are able to hold it in longer and longer periods, that we're not able to hold it all the time, that it comes and goes. And so I think what you're describing is exactly what they're describing here, is saying that more and more it's coming into our lives, but it's not an all thing yet. It is a thing where we can do it in moments. Yeah. So I think everybody can relate to that. And then Solveig says, yes, I've been experiencing that I cannot speak untruthfully anymore, even about small things. Wow, interesting. Absolutely confirmation this is happening and coming for humanity. I love it. Yes. Teresa says, it's already Earth 1 and Earth 2. I pointed that out to my neighbors who are also believing for better times. That's beautiful. Yeah. Debbie says, I have to go. All right, thank you so much for being with us, Debbie. Zamona says, my birthday is on the 28th. Oh, cool. Me too, Zamona. Happy birthday to both of us. That's so cool. Yeah, that's very cool. Leslie says, I am interested about people being able to feel others' feelings. I have to a certain degree my whole life and have even felt others' pain, sorrow, and other suffering. So you're definitely an empath then. Yeah. And without making any contact with someone, to be honest, it was very overwhelming, but I was a comfort to many. I imagine learning to fully let emotions pass through will quickly help. Yes. And here's the thing, is that the reason why those of you who are empaths and are worried about this is that it is very hard to be an empath in a karmic world where you are still carrying wounding, and all of us are still carrying wounding, all of us. Otherwise we would be one with source. So every single person on earth has wounding. Otherwise, literally, you would have to be reunited with source. Our karma, our wounding is what ties us to the planet. So we have this wounding, and when you feel other people's feelings, the feelings that resonate the strongest are the ones that you also hold. So when you are an empath and when you're resonating with someone, it's bringing up a genuine wound inside of yourself, which feels overwhelming and painful and exhausting, right? But as we move into this new state of being, we leave behind the karma, and so it won't be the same. You'll be able to feel another feelings without it triggering you. So you'll just feel their experience, and you'll experience them as someone you're one with, but who is not you. So it won't hurt or exhaust you in the same way. But yeah, but empaths who are really picking up a lot of emotions, it is you trying to clear yourself, trying to bring things up so you can heal them. Yeah, so don't worry. Like, it's not, this new way of being isn't going to exhaust you in the same way. It will feel a lot better, a lot lighter. Yeah. So then they go on to say, so living in a chorus, it'll be like literally one big musical of happy goodness, which sounds amazing. And then they go on to say, and there will be, yes, those souls who experience not the same great rousing from inside, the same great feeling of unity and belonging. And they shall wish to come, they shall wish to feel as you do, and it shall be available should they choose it most deeply, right? It is choice. Here's they're emphasizing our free will. And the only reason someone would not be feeling it from the get-go is free will, because we have to honor their free will. And they will be leaning back toward what used to be. They won't be willing to let go of it yet. So I think it's beautifully described here. They're saying, okay, in the beginning, they're not willing to let go. So then what ends up happening is they're hanging on to something, but that something is going to start to feel increasingly meaningless, that it won't resonate in the same way. It's almost like as if they said, well, this thing makes me feel really secure, like having this collection of model, whatever, model cars or having a collection of coins or whatever it is makes me feel safe because it's like I'm just making something up. But it's like whatever they found that was meaningful about that becomes less and less meaningful. It's almost like they hold it and it doesn't give them the same feeling of comfort, and they learn, oh, okay, well, this isn't doing it for me. And they're able to release it and let go and turn towards the light. So that's kind of the beauty of it, is that they take the thing. It's like they're holding on to a balloon and then they let the air out of the balloon. And the person's like, oh, that didn't do so much for me. Okay, let me see what will work. So it's a beautifully designed process. They go on to say, the invigorated times that are coming will not tolerate disintegration from the core of who you are. So huge. So the invigorated times is like the higher frequency, right? Higher frequency times that are coming will not tolerate disintegration from the core of who you are. So disintegration is like where we are not integrated, right? Disintegration, being integrated is self-love. So so in other words, the new world will not tolerate the lack of self-love. It's like that's how we have to be in order to vibrate in the new frequency. And we're not like, don't worry, you don't have to achieve self-love before the shift. You can come into the shift with all of your wounding and you will still be able to shift if you lean into when the flash of light comes. It's all you got to do is lean in. You got to just go for it and not cling on, not be in fear, not cling to the way things were. And what will happen is you will release your karma in that process. But challenging to know, you guys, is that if you wait and let this process release your karma, you're not benefiting from the karma. That you won't get the whole point of the karma is to learn about ourselves and to grow as a soul. And that's the opportunity we are in right now. And if we wait until the shift comes to heal and to look at ourselves and to see ourselves, it's like I was saying before, it's a little bit like we're in the Earth School, we have a textbook, and when we get to the flash, we get to set the textbook down. But if you haven't read the textbook, you don't get to take the knowledge with you. Now is the time to read the book. Read who you are. Learn about yourself from what's happening outside of yourself. So that is the point of the process we're in right now, is reading the book. And then it doesn't matter if you don't finish it. You just want to read as much as you can, right? Get through as many chapters as you can do. And then when the flash of light comes, you can set the book down and you can move to a higher state of consciousness. So, but that doesn't mean give up on the healing now. Super important. Now is the time to read the book. The book of yourself, the book of your soul, which is you're learning by being and experiencing yourself in your reality and going through your healing. Yeah, which is the work we do in Soul Convergence. Just to say. But I'm not guys, there's loads of healers out there. There's loads of, so find somebody you click with that can help you. Or I have loads of free resources. If you can't do Soul Convergence, I have loads of free resources here. I have them on my YouTube channel. I have them on my website. I have them here in these messages. There's loads of stuff out there for you that if you look for it, the angels will bring it. So, but I would love it if you want to join me in Soul Convergence. It works. Soul Convergence works. All right, so then we go on to say there will be a doubting time. So this is really interesting. There will be a doubting time for those who are off center. So this is what they're saying, that so for those people who've been super, super anti-spirituality, like the people who are like super dug in, who are like, don't even talk about that wacky stuff. All I care about is science. There will be a doubting time that comes. And this is critical to help them turn in towards the light, right? A doubting time for those who are off center, a time of feeling themselves cast into a slumbering daze, as if that which has been foreshadowed some greater lack than they were understanding. So in other words, like before they felt lonely, before they felt isolated, before they felt like life had no meaning, like that was just the beginning, right? Wait till all the things they thought were important become completely unimportant. It's almost like, what if you worked because what really mattered to you was to have a super fancy car, and this motivated you for years, and you finally achieved your goal and you bought a super fancy car, and then right at that moment, then gas was no longer available and you couldn't drive it, right? And you would be like, wow, okay, I have this lead paperweight in my driveway that can get me nowhere and that nobody cares about, and I wish I had spent that money some other way, like, and not anyway. So that's just an example of the kind of thing I'm talking about, where it's like you were holding on to this thing that's actually a balloon, and then the air comes out of it, and it's like, wow, that thing I thought was so important and defined me as a person and had meaning to me, in fact, doesn't. And so then they say, as if there was less meaning in what they held previously than they had realized. And they will come to terms with this and find themselves seeking. So this is the beauty of the process. And this is why we are here, is to be here in that moment when they turn and say, oh my gosh, I need help, right? And they will look for that which is revealed in their own slumbering times, in their higher mind. So they'll start tuning in and listening to themselves, and they'll start becoming open, right? They're becoming open to new information, to seeing things in a new way. They will become open to perceptions not of before available to themselves. They will become seekers. They will find within themselves the desire to meet your heart, but not know how to reveal it. So they would like to have that same degree of connection, but they don't know how to get it. They will find themselves in the desire to become enlightened, and they will seek the help of all who have risen. So guys, this is why you are the way showers. Then they go on to say, they will find in their own hearts the tides have torn them from their own complacency. I love that. So it's that idea that we can just get along and go along, and we can, we can just bury ourselves in a life of errands, in a life of chores, and of things just being the way they always have been. But the events that come will tear them from that complacency, where they just can't feel that way anymore. Those things will be drained of their meaning and of their relevance. It will start to feel irrelevant, right? And they say, and while the surface of a reality is disfigured, it releases from itself a great calamitous vibration that celebrates its own freedom. So in other words, they say when people, so what they're saying here, when the surface of reality is disfigured. So in other words, if someone is complacent, the surface of their reality is calm and without change. When that surface is disfigured, so in other words, the reality that they thought was so true and so important, when cracks start to appear, that then unleashes something inside of them, right? It releases from itself a great calamitous vibration that celebrates its own freedom. It's almost like they've been keeping down this inner truth, and it just like, once the cracks appear, that inner truth is like, woohoo, let me come out. And that's kind of the idea, is that it will be like this rising comes up from inside of them that they just need, they can't ignore it, right? And not that they in that instant are going to get there. It's just that it's going to be this pressure to seek. In the same way that maybe you guys felt if you had went through an awakening, if you had a big awakening moment, it's probably a lot like that, where you were just like driven to figure it out. And from within this great stew of potential emerges what can be and become from within them. Yeah, it's a great stew of potential. So awesome, you guys. Yeah, I love it. And let's see, I'm just reading through and looking. You guys, I love the conversations that you guys are having. And you're saying, what about those that are indoctrinated by deep religion programming? I am concerned about those really good people that are deeply held in religious programs. Yeah, it is a major thing, because here's the interesting thing, is that a lot of the language that we use about these processes, there's many religious concepts or religious belief systems that hold the same, that talk about, they'll call it a rapture, where, whereas we describe it as like the angels are going to anybody that passes in these experiences, they won't feel pain in their body. They'll be taken from their body. Well, there's this whole concept of the rapture, which is like a religious concept. And so there's a lot of alignment. There's crazy amounts of alignment. But the challenging thing that I do not like is there are many religions that tie all this up, and we are the chosen ones, and they are not the chosen ones. And that is just not the case. Like, there is nobody who's liked better than anybody else. And you don't have to recant special words or fast in a special way in order for this shift to hit you. Literally, all you have to do is be open to see it. Right? And to turn away from what was and accept what is new. That is it. You don't have to subscribe to a particular book or belief or anything. And that is not what most belief systems, specifically religious belief systems, teach. So, but the thing is that one of the things I have learned is that there's, even in spirituality, in non-religious context, but in spiritual context, there are many spiritual leaders who are not necessarily like pure vessels themselves. Like none of us are, we all have our stuff. But even so, even if you might find a spiritual teacher who has major weaknesses, all they have to be is a little bit ahead of the person that's behind them, and they can turn around and help them forward, right? So even in religious, highly religious, where they have this, like, you have to believe our way or you will not be okay, there's enough good in there that they can probably still help people. They can probably still bring people to a point. But I have seen, very, very interesting, I have seen dreams from people who are very, very, very tied into religious doctrine. And the dream showed them going through a supermarket, which supermarket is things you need. And they come out on the other side they go in with a holy book, and they come out on the other side without the holy book. And the message is telling them, you need to release doctrine. You need to, it's really like, there is nothing that is meant to be between us and our own connection. Like that is meant to be this is where the action is, right? It's you are divine. You are God. You are the divinity. You are divine inside of you. And you're meant to have your own connection, to get your own information. And then we're meant to be among one another, right? And learn and explore ourselves. Like, and we're not meant to be, there's nothing meant to be between us and something else. There's nothing we're meant to worship. We're meant to worship truth and worship love, but not to worship it, is to be it. That's different. Worshiping puts something on a pedestal which you cannot achieve, right? A pedestal puts things away from you. It's like if it's on a pedestal, you're worshiping it, means you can never get it. You can never get there. We're not meant to worship love. We're meant to be it and to be divine, right? To be all of that. So yeah, so it is a thing, but it doesn't mean that it won't still be helpful to some degree. And so, but they also said in this message that the ideals, the things, so those concepts may be like the balloon we've been talking about. It may be that those belief systems where they say, well, only the chosen ones get to do this. Those kinds of concepts may be the balloon that gets the air taken out of it, and they become meaningless. And people, the goal, and I think the only way through this is to live in wholeness. They've been telling us this, the whole message is to be in self-love, to be in coherence with ourselves, that our hearts will become in friction with anything that is not embodying its own truth. So I think that will be the gradual letting out of the air out of the balloon of these of the very, very restrictive religious beliefs. Yeah, and so that might be how it happens. But yeah, great question. And really interesting to explore that with this new information that they're sharing with us today. Super, super interesting. Yeah. And you're saying this is so timely. I'm navigating this with my 4 adult children already. Yep, for real. I totally get it, you guys. Yeah, and every person is on their own journey, and choose what that journey should be. Everyone will return back to source. There's no reason to worry. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And yep, trust, no fear. Absolutely. And Karen says, want that second soul within NSB, what kind of stimulates those people who are not already on this path to seek out? So I'm not sure, but yes, for sure. The whole point, I think, is that this experience that we're going to go through is going to open the door for those of you who are raring to go and ready to jump through. And then we are meant to turn around and help those that will then step through. That will then come through, because whatever it is that they were holding on to, the whatever it is they couldn't let go of, will begin to lose its meaning, and they will turn around and step through it. And Lynn says the rapture is not biblical. Thank you. I don't know anything about the Bible, so if I misquote something, please forgive me. I truly don't know. I just know certain terms and certain words just enough to get myself into trouble. So going on. All right. Then they go on to say, where is it? Here it is. This great rising comes and speaks to them most earnestly, most fully, as to you. But they shall hear it from within the space and placement of their own confusion. And need only the guidance, the help, the consideration of they who have accomplished this feat already. So super, super interesting. So in other words, they'll feel this rising come up, but it will come up within the confusion of not knowing how to get there. So they're going to need you to turn around and give them a hand, is what they're saying. And that confusion comes from like, okay, how do I release my karma? How do I get into the space of self-love? Next, they say, within the framework of your own sharing of the gifting which you have held and understood within your own soul, you may provide the tunnel, the bridge, the conveyance, as we do you, as the angels will help us then we turn around and help others. That's kind of the plan, right? And you may find within the souls who are left behind by their own choosing, you may find the method from within the breath of relief that you shall take upon your own arrival. So they're literally saying that when we arrive, it'll be like, phew, breath of relief, but in that, it's like there's an awareness that will come in, that we will understand it as soon as we achieve it. And that will make it so that it won't be hard for us to turn around. It's like we will come into this state of self-knowing, and we will understand how to help others. So you don't have to know it right now. You don't have to figure it out yet. All right, so you shall find yourselves within a space and a dance of celebration. And they keep talking about this. This is the joy and celebration. Those are the energies we need to embody. A sensation of who you are as rising always into the context of new meaning, as if you have seldom understood yourself and are now within a realm of discovery. So it's this is that dharmic experience of living on the wave, constantly experiencing the now and living fully in the now and learning about ourselves through that experience. So, and it's going to be like a realm of discovery. This is a totally new way of being, rather than living in a realm where we have to bump up against ourselves, which is karmic, which is learning through pain. We're going to be learning through a dharmic experience of constant discovery of ourselves. So it's going to be a totally different way of being. And they say, and all shall be met with wonderment and glee. So it's not painful anymore, you guys, which is like, yay. And this, yes, celebration it causes in your heart, and within your heart space, celebration rises joyfully. Yeah. So that is just like, that is the best news. They go on to say, you shall be presented to they who shall wish to meet you. So in other words, don't worry, they're going to find you. The people you're meant to help will find you. They who have chosen to find solace in their own self-selected misery shall not stay long upon an earth that will not meet them easily. They shall not find it hospitable. In other words, like the process of being in opposition to this energy, the process of being in rejection of it is not going to be an easy state to hold. It's going to feel, like I said, like the meaning is drained out of all the things that they hung on to. Like it just doesn't fulfill them anymore. They find like it literally like the air is just let out of the balloon. It's going to feel like, anyways, it's almost like everything is pushing them towards this direction. And they always have free choice. And they have the free choice to stay as they are, but they're saying there's going to be enormous energies guiding them toward this process to help them get there if they want to. Yeah. And they said, they shall not find it hospitable, shall not feel it as loving, though it shall be. They shall not feel themselves conveyed in peace, their utterances not meeting the same vibrations, the same acceptance as once felt. So this is super interesting, the utterances. So the angels have said before that we create with our words, that our words are super, super powerful. And so, so in other words, for the people who have been accustomed to living in the current reality, they will be used to life working for them in a certain way. Like they'll be used to being able to manifest in a particular way, and life turns out a certain way because that's how it's always been. All of a sudden, like imagine those people who are like the people who have done really well in this world, the people who are like the heads of corporations and the people who are like the A-listers, and they're like, yeah, life just turns out for me. And maybe those people are really wanting to keep things the way that, if they want to turn away from it and keep things the way that they are, they will find all of a sudden that the things that used to work for them don't work anymore. It's like they said, their utterances not meeting the same vibrations. Those energies will not be carried any longer because they're not in harmony with the new way of being. So it'll be like everything just falls flat. Nothing works, right? And nothing has value. Nothing has meaning. It's literally like the air is let out. Yeah. So, and so they will feel like the earth it's like they're just sitting. It's almost like they're just nothing's working. Will be the best way I can describe it. That's how I'm understanding this. They're saying that they will feel like nothing's working. Nothing has the same acceptance as they once felt. And they can't find peace, right? So they're going to be really driven to seek change of some sort. Then they go on to say, they shall become within their own skin an outsider from who you have become. So this is that idea that you will be drawn to people who are like your own field is going to find it difficult to be around people who are not in their own truth, and people who are not in their own truth will feel like an outsider from that experience. And they say this shall not and does not need to remain their fate. It is a temporary position within which they shall find themselves. So this is just giving them as much opportunity as we can to help them progress, right? As while they still can. while they're still here, a part of Earth and this Earth school. They're trying to get them the last minute. Here's your last ditch effort to try to learn about yourself. Here you go. Here's the hardest lesson, right? Where they're gonna put all hands on deck to try to help them. Yeah. It is a temporary position within which they shall find themselves, and they shall come to terms with it upon their own guidance, their own internal surrender to what is. And here's how they get it. Here's how they get past it. Within the acceptance of what has come to pass, they shall find relief. It is only in the rejection and resistance to what has occurred that they find resistance to their own freedom. So that's literally all they have to do is let go and turn around and accept. And it's literally like, here's the interesting thing, is that it will be like the new reality is a new perspective that they are not able to see until they're able to let go of the old reality. And it's literally like that, like physically see it. And so this is the thing. This is really, there's actually science to this, that we see things that we expect to see. And so this is true, like we were just talking about this recently. Imagine that you are, if any of you have ever made a really big purchase, maybe it's a pair of maybe it's a really fancy pair of shoes you always wanted, or maybe it's a car that you wanted. So let's say, just to use a car as an example, before you bought that car, you might not have seen that many on the road. But once you buy the car, all of a sudden they seem to be everywhere. It's like they come out of the woodwork. Where did all these cars come from? How come I didn't see them before? Well, the truth is they were always there, but your brain was not set to see them. Your brain was not looking for them. So they would look out into the sea of the world, and your brain will self-select to show you the things that are in alignment with what you are currently thinking or feeling or existing in. And if that car was not part of your dialogue, internal dialogue, it wasn't going to show up. But the minute it became part of your dialogue, all of a sudden it shows up and you see it. So this is how perception works. So if somebody is really fixated on seeing things the way they used to be, and if they're not open to seeing something that has never existed before, they won't be able to see it. It's literally like they will look right past opportunity. They will look right past the good things that are right in front of them. So, and it may be even more than that. It may be an even greater separation, but that's the concept that I think we're going to be going through. And Lynn says, I see some congruence with Christianity. Source equals God. Jesus spoke the eternal life and preached pure love. I find similarity with literally every religious tradition. There's stuff that there is truthiness in all of it. It's just that it's truthiness through the interpretation of a human. And so humans, they're just like channels. They get in the way, like we always get in the way of it's very, very difficult to be a pure channel, to let information flow through. So every religious text is tainted by the culture that it was born from. And so but inside all of them, there is truthiness. So absolutely, Christianity, Hinduism, Judaism, all of them, every single one, there's truthiness, 100%. And so that's the thing, focus on the truthiness. Focus on where there is alignment. Yeah. And then I'm going to go to see where am I down here? Where are you guys? I'm in the conversation. I keep wondering about my partner during this session. We just broke up, and I wonder if it's because we're different in this realm regarding all of this. It could be, certainly as you're on a spiritual path, breakups can be that you have the lessons you were meant to learn together have been resolved, right? That you've completed your karma with that person. It can be that you have shifted to a higher frequency and you are no longer able to meet them in their wounding, and so they find that they've got a puzzle they're trying to put together. They've got this wound and they want the other person to have this wound, and that's how you fit together. And if you've healed your side, you just don't fit together anymore. So that absolutely happens sometimes. It's one of the hard things, is where we have to let go of people that we loved, but sometimes it happens. Yeah. All right, so then they go on to say so they're going to become an outsider to who you are. This does not mean that they need to remain their fate. This is a temporary position within which they shall find themselves, and they shall come to terms with it upon their own guidance, their own internal surrender to what is, right? So that is the idea. They have to let go of their resistance to find their freedom. Next paragraph. Within the context of these earthly, okay, so here's where we get to some of the heavy stuff, you guys, about earth stuff. So just a heads up if you don't want to hear this, and you can just mute me for a little bit. They go on to say, within the context of these earthly movings, so they've been talking about the earth rift, they've been talking about flooding, they've been talking about weather changes, lots of stuff. So these earthly movings, there shall be an enormous degree of condensation and upheaval. So interesting choice of words, condensation, because they said before that it would be like much colder for a little while. So condensation is like clouds and rain. It's like condensation is when the water kind of rises up and forms into cloud cover. So it could be just heavy cloud cover, and it can also be rain, is condensation. So condensation and upheaval. So upheaval, I interpret that to mean earth shifts, earth changes, right? There shall become upon the spirit of great torrents of mud, and the fixtures of the globe shall not appear as they were or have been. So this is they've been talking about flooding. So mud, apparently great torrents of mud. So this is like where it's like a saturation of soils and movements of mud. So just if you live in a floodplain, or if you like, just be aware of that. Be aware that they're talking about, like, if there's places where water flows, like, yeah, I would think about that if you're currently living in a place that where flooding happens easily. That we are going to be moving into a time where there's going to be a lot more condensation, a lot more rain, so significant flooding. So just please be aware of that. If you live in a place that floods, this is going to be a thing. And they say, and the fixtures of the globe shall not appear as they were or have been. The fixtures of the globe, I interpret that to mean like land masses are the fixtures of the globe. So we're talking about massive earth shifts, you guys, big time earth shifts. And they don't go into it because that's not their point. The point is not to tell us this is going to happen and that's going to happen. The point is to explain the energy to us, to explain what do we need to be thinking about? What energies do we need to be holding? How are we meant to process this when it comes, right? They say, it shall feel as if all is tumultuous and can be overcome by the greatest tides that have separated you from yourselves. So that's the feeling that, so in the same way that we have been separated from ourselves. So in other words, in this section, they are comparing the healing that we go through to heal and unify ourselves. The earth is going to go through the same thing, right? What separates us, it also separates her. So they say, as if the earth herself is undergone the same conundrums and resolutions as you are feeling within your own hearts. So she has to heal, is what they're saying here. And this is why we're going to see this, is because she moves things. It's just like her moving energy. And then they say, she shall settle herself in her own way. So she'll come, it'll get calm again. This is temporary. It's a temporary thing. And then they say, she shall come to terms with all that she has been and will become. She shall evolve as you have done. And then they go on to say, but in the timings, the separation becomes palpable and palpably felt within those who remain on the plane of this existence and within her own crust. So in other words, they're saying, yep, this is going to be a real, like earthquakes are real thing, volcanoes, real thing, flooding, real thing. Like this, we're going to feel it. It's going to happen. And they say, there shall be the vibrations that tone her separation. So I see that, vibrations that tone her separation. I hear that as earthquake, the vibrations in the, earthquakes. And you shall feel as an exhaustion. So I see that as volcano. And probably felt expulsion, a palpably felt expulsion from within her. So the angels talked about the earth rift. When they talked about the earth rift, they said that it would be it would be felt and it would be heard around the world, the whole world. So to give you an idea of the scope of it, Tonga was a huge eruption and it was heard halfway around the world. So this would be bigger than Tonga, a bigger eruption than Tonga is what we would be expecting for the earth rift. It would be heard around the world. Okay, so that's the end of that part of it. The end of the talking about the earth stuff. Then they go on. They go on to say, to know yourself fully, please. And this is why they're talking about it. Why would they even bring this up? This is why they say, to know yourself fully, please understand that and have the understanding that all that shall become chaos within emerges from within your own heart as a digestion of truth. So this is why. Why is the earth going through this? That we are like the neurons of the earth. We are the thoughts of the earth. And so all of the negativity we hold inside of us, all of the pain, all of the hurt is also inside of her. And she has to release it just like we do. She has to go through her own healing process. So that, and they're saying that's why they're trying to describe this, just to understand that yes, it's chaos, but they say it is the same thing as digesting our own truth, right? That we have to, in order to reach this heightened state of awareness, all of earth has to change. And so earth has to release it. It just has to be. They go on to say that as you release the torrents of your own frustration, and this is interesting, the immolation is another angel word of the day. It is the destroying by burning, the immolation of what has been resistance creates within an artificial layer of protection that is then discarded and renewal occurs from within. So this, I hear this as being describing like the process of the cocoon. So it's like there's an artificial layer of protection that is then discarded and the renewal occurs from within. So we release, like, right, we release that the ways in which we have been in resistance are artificial protections. Like we resist things, we think we're protecting ourselves. In fact, we're holding ourselves in a lower vibration. So the things that we resist, the things that we're afraid of, we put up resistance towards. That resistance literally just holds us in place. It keeps us enmeshed in wounding. So then we discard that and renewal comes from within. It is as though the substance of what was must be brought forth and decay. So it's both inside of us and inside the earth, right? Daryl says, I keep getting the message to prepare to move. And you live in North California. I've just heard from another person who got incredible encouragement to move. Yeah, and so I think if you are getting that message, please do listen to your guides. I'm really glad you're tuned in, Daryl. That's awesome. Don says, how can we help you release the fear? Are you in a safe place? And there is definitely fear out there, you guys. But the key with the fear is to not push it down. That if you feel fear, the fear existed already. It was already there. It's not coming up because of this experience or because of what's coming. It's because the fear is of something else. And that fear was in there, and it could be something that happened to you in childhood. It could be something that happened to you in a past life. It may be difficult for you to identify it, but the fear is not a reaction to reality. It is an emotion. And most of the time we feel our fear and we're like, okay, I need to get out of fear. I need to get out of fear. And we try to get out of fear and you can't, because all you need to do is allow the fear to rise and move out of you, right? The fear has to be acknowledged. You have to sit with the fear. And if you close your eyes, if you find a quiet space and allow yourself to sit in a place that is a safe place for you, where you feel secure, and sit with your fear and look at your fear and be the witness to your own fear. And you need to be a parent in this process. You are the parent to your own fear. Imagine that the fear is coming from infant you, from child you, who was afraid, right? And you become the parent in your own mind, and you sit with that child who is in terrible fear and make the space for them to feel the fear. And you as the adult are going to process that fear through your physiology, through your body. Make space for them, sit with them, and let them, and don't make them process it right away. Let them express the fear. Let them feel the fear. Let them tell you they're afraid, and validate their fear. They have every reason to be afraid because something terrible happened to them, right? It was real. Whatever it was real. The fear was valid, or they wouldn't feel it. The feelings are real, but all they are is feelings, and feelings need to pass. And fear is just a feeling. Fear is not truth. Fear is a feeling, and it's just in a moment, and you can move out of it. You can allow it to integrate and move through you. And so sit with that inner child and make space for that child to be afraid, and make it be okay. Don't judge them for their fear. The fear is real and it's absolutely valid. Sit with them, love them, and love that inner you, that inner child. See them. And imagine just gathering them up in your arms and bring them into your lap and just love them. And love yourself through this process as you allow that fear and let your body process the fear. Let that fear rise up. And if you try to feel the fear, if you lean into that fear as hard as you can without stopping it, it will literally last for 90 seconds. And then it will move outside of you. So you just have to bring it in and love it and let it be with you. Let it be part of who you are. And here's the thing, if you feel it, something happened. Like, you are right to feel it. You have earned that fear, but that doesn't mean you have to keep it. You don't have to hang on to it. And so the things you're hearing right now, the only reason it's triggering you is because the fear was already there. So, and it could be fear. It could be in a past life you lived through a big chaotic experience. That's very likely. Could be that you lived through a volcano. Maybe you were there when Vesuvius went off. Who knows? But whatever happened, it was scary. And that inner part of you is afraid and needs to be loved through the fear. So that is how I would suggest. There's a beautiful healing that the angels gave us that is for free on my YouTube channel that is called the self-healing method. And if you go into my YouTube channel, search under playlist, there's a button called playlist, click playlists and choose healings and meditations. And there's a healing there which you can use to move through when you go into it, bring up the feeling of fear. It will help you heal any feeling, but use it to heal your fear. And the angels will they'll talk you through the process of bringing it up and loving yourself through it. But just remember, it's something, you can release the fear. It is just a feeling, and it's nothing to be, you don't have to be afraid of your fear. Yeah, and I'm sorry you're feeling it. And that's why I understand sometimes these messages can be really hard because they are triggering, but you can use it. Triggers become like gold, you guys. The further we go in our journey, the harder it is to find those triggers. So when one rises, like celebrate it and go right into it and see what you can do to move the energy, to love yourself back into wholeness. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so I'm really, really glad you brought it up because you are not the only one, and we all need help. So please, like I said, that is a free resource that I'm happy to share. Or you can also reach out to people that are healers, that can help guide you through that same release. Yeah. All right. Absolutely. And thank you. You guys are so supportive of one another. I'm so grateful. Thank you. I see lots of people coming together here and reassuring one another, and I'm so grateful, you guys. Thank you. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So, all right. So then they go on to say, so all they got to do is release the resistance to their own freedom. And, oh, no, sorry, I read that part already. Then we went through the earth stuff, and then here we are. So we're past the earth stuff. To know yourself fully, please understand, right, that we have to digest it, right, that there's a layer of protection. So we have to release the protection, release our resistances, right, and that everything that is inside of us has to be brought forth. All right, next paragraph, they say, and all that was begins anew, a phoenix to rise from within you. And the earth herself, much like you are, shall find in all things the potential for freedom to rise again. All that is destructive shall be met with new potentials, all in the same moment. In the same instant of release comes the new. And this is it. This is how we get through, you guys, is that when we see chaos, look into the chaos for what is being birthed, what is being born from that release of energy. Every bit of chaos is a release of energy. Structures break down, just like imagine a plant that dies, the structures of the plant break down, they feed the soil and something new is born. And they said in the moment, in the same moment, they say, where shall you focus? Upon your fear or upon the gifting of the new reality? Shall you bring your thoughts into alignment with what shall be revealed? Or shall you dwell within the fears of a long bygone day that you can no longer feel? Wow, right? And this is referring back to what they were telling us before, that the things that used to feel important won't feel important anymore, right? Maybe people in the beginning, the people that you love in the beginning may cling to old ideologies, to old physical things, to old schedules, old jobs, whatever it is. But gradually, they'll lose their hold on it. Like it won't have the meaning anymore, right? That they can no longer feel, right? So they'll be encouraged to turn and see the new perspective. The yesteryears of our old fixation can no longer calm you as they once did. And you shall find from within them the emptying and an emptiness. And all that does become discarded is digested back into a new form. Thus, cast your focus and attention upon the new reality forming from within you. Let yourself rise to be met by one another. Find the consequential times need not be suffering. They can become the fragrance of a new day, as consequential, as powerful, as impactful as the chaos that creates them. Right? So this is what we really want to take from this message, you guys, is see in this the phoenix rising. See the intensity of this, as this is how good it's going to become. We have to turn away from what's falling, what's being destroyed, and turn toward what's being created. And they say we do not have to suffer through it, right? All we have to do is be willing to perceive what is being born, right? It's amazing, you guys, absolutely amazing. And it will be as powerful as what is happening in the world. They say, thus we welcome you as guardians of this one makes me cry, this last paragraph. We welcome you as guardians of the new earth. We welcome you into the fabric of the reality of your own creation. I swear, I think this is one of the most powerful messages I've ever channeled, you guys. It is so intense. There's so much energy in it. And I feel like they're just, like I said, they are not pulling punches. They are telling it with the utmost love. They are telling it like it is. And I'm just so grateful that you guys are holding this energy with me, because it is meant for many. This message is not meant for one. This message is meant for many. Like, we are all meant to hold this message, you guys. Whew, yeah, Carrie, thank you so much for the love. Carrie, I appreciate it. Jeannie says, I think we are very protected. Yes. And Laura says, beautiful ending. I think so too. Amanda says, it's been a long road. LOL. Eons, totally, right? I know, right? It's taken a long time to get here. Yep. And then Don says, observe knowing that what is happening is destined to be for the new to be born. Yes, absolutely. And we can live in the new, right? We can live in the new now. Yeah. And we can bring others with us. The people we love, we can bring them with us. And then Carrie says she has a couple of eruption dreams that always preceded an actual event. I still don't understand the connection fully, but I assume it is for healing the collective consciousness. Yes, yes, totally, Carrie. And for holding that energy, like, it's the whole thing is for us not to be in fear. If we understand something's going to happen, it is a little bit like, imagine walking into a room and there's someone there and you say hello and you shake their hand and you're like, hi, nice to see you, as opposed to walking into a room when someone jumps out from behind a corner and goes, boo. And that's the difference. That's knowing, versus being surprised. And being surprised, you get startled and you get thrown back and you spill your coffee, and you know what I mean? Like, we want the first one. We want to walk into the room and, oh, there it is. There's a thing that I was anticipating being in the room, as opposed to, oh, I'm walking in the room and then boo. Like, you don't, that's bad. That is, our human physiology doesn't do well with that. So that's why we hear stuff in advance, because we don't want to be startled. We want to be like, okay, I get it. I understand. I know where to go. I know what to do. This is cool. Like, even though, like, there's no, in this, they're not dressing this up in pretty ribbons. They're saying, yeah, craziness. But they have told us again and again that every single soul is looked after. Everyone has a plan. Every single soul that came here to be in this time has a plan for this time. And for some people, the plan is to leave, and that's true. But if they leave, the reason why they would have signed up for it is, number one, they will feel no pain. They will be taken from their bodies before they feel pain. And number two, every soul that leaves in this process gets an instant upgrade. They get moved up to a higher frequency. And that is hugely attractive to a soul, because I will tell you that coming to the Earth School, the goal is to become brighter and shinier as a soul, but not everybody does. All of us, before we get here, we're like, put me in, coach. I'm going to do the work. I'm going to do it this time around. I'm going to heal my karma. I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to find my path. I'm going to live. I'm going to do all the things I set out. And then many times we come to Earth and we don't. And you can see that all around you, how many people in the world are not on their path. And all of them thought they were going to come and get on their path. And how many generations has it been? But if they come this time, they're guaranteed to win, because if they pass during this experience, they immediately get a boost. So it's like a no-lose equation. So from that perspective, like I said, every single soul is cared for, and every single soul, the angels, like, we're right there. Like I said, they will not experience a physical trauma. Even if in their path of some kind of destruction, they won't feel it. But many people, many of you, are going to be here helping the many people who are here, who are still have time to grow through the process. And each person made their own choice, decided whether they were going to leave before the stuff happened or leave after the stuff happened, right? Many of us will lead out our full lives and have a full experience. There's been a lot of people out there that are talking about, like, massive destruction, like tidal waves that wipe planet, wipe things off the safe face, like the what is it, the pole reversal and stuff like that, where it's like the only place you'll be safe is if you live in the Himalayas. And the angels have said no, that is not happening. The angels have, that's my information from the angels, not to disparage anybody else's information, but my information from the angels, what they have told me is no, that is not a situation where, like, the world is like wiped clean in Noah's flood. It's not that. They've said that, yeah, there will be certainly some big waves, big time, and there will be flooding in terms of heavy rains and mud and all that kind of stuff. But they said everything happens, not everything happens everywhere. That it happens a little bit here, a little bit there, that it's like, so wherever you live, you may experience one of these things or two of these things, but not all of these things. So we will make it through. We'll make it through. And everybody has a plan. Those of us who make it through, who are doing this stuff, then there's a purpose to it. and we're going to grow through the experience, and we're going to help other people. And it's going to be awesome, you guys. It's going to be awesome. And I know there's scary stuff in here, but we're equipped. That's the feeling I get more and more from the angels, is that we are equipped for this, that we came for this. Is why we came in the first place, right? Yeah, we are one with a phoenixing. Exactly, Diana. Totally. Yeah, I totally agree. And then, yeah, Karen, thank you. Thank you for, I appreciate that. You're right. It is hard to share these kind of messages. And it's gotten easier, but when I get a heavy one like this, I just have a moment of like, oh, oh God, here we go, you guys. Yeah. So thank you. I really appreciate that. And Michael says, I think the amount of destruction will be based on how much is needed. So much the better we become now as a planet, the less destruction. Thank you for saying that, Michael. I 100% agree that the clearing, we are the thoughts of the earth. If we can clear ourselves, less destruction is needed. So if there's something that you want to do, if you're saying, how can I make it so that it's easier for everyone? That, heal yourself. The more you are one bright light, the more bright you are, the more light you hold, the more energy there is on the planet, the less destruction there needs to be. So yes, the more we work on ourselves, it helps all of humanity, and it will lessen the impact. Yeah, I absolutely believe that. Yeah. But said we've had so much activity, so much solar activity since December. I follow daily. Yeah, for sure. And Don says this one was very intense, but so welcome. Thank you, Don. Yeah, and Pat says so grateful for just finding. Oh, thank you, Pat. You have actually calmed me down with your messages. I am so grateful to hear that. And that is the point. The angels never tell us anything with the idea of giving us fear. They want to inform us. And part of that also, you guys, is trust. Is how would you feel about these messages if there was big stuff and they never told you anything about it, and they were just like la la la, everything is good, and then there was like a huge eruption, and they never told you, and you would be like, hey guys, like it's a trust thing. Like they don't tell us every single thing, and here's the other thing about being a channel. I don't believe there's any channel that gets all the information, that I get a window that I'm allowed to see through, right? I get one perspective. But there may be other things that other channels get that I don't, or events that happen that I don't hear about. And I think it's by design. Like everybody gets to be a piece of the puzzle. Like nobody gets to be the whole puzzle. We all have to work together, we all have to help one another. And I think that's by design. Yeah. And Anne says, thank you, Michael. I really agree. I think that's awesome. I'm so glad you said it. All right, you guys, a phenomenal message. Thank you so much for sharing it with me today. I'm sending you guys so much love and so much gratitude. Peace bathers, those of you who are in my peace bathing program, don't forget we have peace bathing this Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific. So don't forget, I will see you there, and have a great rest of your weekend, you guys. See you next Friday live. Bye, you guys.